Oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? Are you out of decorations?
I'm running out of decorations. Julie, she has some St. Patrick's decor up, but this is my son's apron. He likes to cook. He's a big dinosaur fan. So
is he a big cook?
Yeah, he cooks with us. We got a little stand for him to stand on, and he loves baking cookies and brownies with his mom.
Well, if you ever want to have him bake me cookies, just go ahead and do it. I love chocolate chip cookies more than anything in the world.
Yeah, I know. I brag about Julie a lot, but one thing I'm really cocky about is her baking. So
yeah,
it's her secret sauce. No pun intended. But the question I have was: our panel so on time, and were we so ahead that we had to wait like 10 seconds to start the intro to make sure we started on the full hour?
We absolutely were ahead today. We were so ahead that we didn't really know what to do. So we all did our own intros. So I'm really excited now to see how they one up that, because those were pretty impressive. But I have a fun baking fact.
What?
Do you know what my first job was when I moved back to Kansas City?
It's not the job where you wore roller skates twice.
No, that was my high school job. You never asked, what's the first job when you came back to Kansas City, your first adult job? I actually taught the classes of how to decorate cakes and cupcakes at Michael's, like the craft store.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I did not know that. And it's we were learning all sorts of fun facts, like about Sean and Felicia that helped us put together the show. Sean's in Minnesota, and he was clearing off snow off of his deck for an estimate, and like it literally scared me to death because I thought, no, we can't have any more snow.
Yesterday, he was clearing off snow yesterday. You got to clear that up.
Yeah. Well, I literally got scared because I was like, I don't want any more cold weather. I don't want any more remembrance of 2020. But what else? We have they had a great attendance on their event talking about perpetuation and succession planning.
They did.
Do we have anything else that's cooking for Bank of Blue Valley?
They are going to. We will know something by next week. I'm really excited. We have a video shoot coming up with them. But I hate to break your heart, Scott. You know, a week from Saturday, it's supposed to snow again.
Is it really?
It's our moving day. That's the only reason I know that.
Wow. You know, as much as, you know, I think we can claim that we have writers, so they write our banter in the beginning. So I'm going to tell everyone that was prepared.
Well, yeah, we really have to look at them. Well, I am super excited about today's show. You're going to do the intros. Actually, I have only met one person on our show before today. So I'm going to do the music, and I'm really excited about the song I found.
Ooh, well, we've set the bar low and high on music, so I'm intrigued. And so I think Bank of Blue Valley, our sponsor, will be very intrigued. And Wendy Reynolds, I hear, is stopping by midway through the show.
She is. She made time for us again this week. So I'm pretty excited.
New outfit every time.
Every single time. All right, you ready? Let's get started.
I'm ready. Ladies first.
All right, first let me start the music. It's a really good song.
Oh! Number 1, Sarah. Number 2, Caroline. Number 3, Ryan. And number 4, the biggest gentleman in Kansas City, Todd.
Ooh, that's a big, big claim. The biggest gentleman in Kansas City. Did you like my song, guys?
It's great. Loved it.
Well done.
You can't beat Dolly Parton. Well, welcome everybody to the show. We are so excited. Scott and I have actually been practicing our interview skills. We watched and rewatched the Oprah interview and then talked about it. And we're going to work really hard on our listening today. So you guys are in for a treat. So let's just jump right in. Sarah, who are you? What do you do? And how did you get here?
Sarah Beck is my name, and I am the Director of Sales and Marketing at Hotel Kansas City, a brand new hotel that is part of the Hyatt Unbound collection that just opened in the historic Kansas City Club building, which is located at 13th and Baltimore. We have 144 guest rooms. We have lots of suites that have 2 levels, so there's a loft, so a nice staircase. We have 20,000 square feet of meeting space, Kansas City's only indoor-outdoor rooftop space. That is absolutely amazing. And all of the rest of the meeting space is original to when it was the Kansas City Club, which opened in 1922. So lots of cool things. There's a touch of historic and a touch of modern at the hotel. We also have the Town Company, which is an amazing, I call it a casual fine dining experience. It is centered around an open hickory burning hearth, and our menu changes weekly. And then we will be opening Kansas City's first cellar saloon, which is called El Gold, in the next few months. And then we also have our swanky lobby bar and lobby cafe. So lots of things going on here in downtown at Hotel Kansas City.
Have you been there yet, Scott?
That is like one of the most polished answers I've ever heard. I tell people what I do like 5 times a day, and it is like 1/10 of that. That is super impressive.
How long have you been there, Sarah?
I've been with the hotel for a year. I was the 3rd employee. And so it was really interesting to start and open a hotel from the ground up. But I was with Hyatt previously. So I've got about 5 years with Hyatt total. And we're very glad that Hyatt, the brand Hyatt, is back in downtown Kansas City, because if some of you remember, Hyatt Regency Crown Center turned into a Sheraton back in 2013. So it's been some time since Hyatt's been in Kansas City, and we're glad that they are back here.
Yeah, I'm just blown away that every detail that you described. But before that, back up on the personal side, more about yourself. How did you get to Kansas City originally on the personal side?
Personal side. So I grew up in Olathe, Kansas. Graduated from Olathe North High School. I went to college in Emporia, and then got my start in hotels in 2002 at the Hyatt Regency Crown Center, and then have been at the Aladdin and Hotel Phillips as well. So been downtown for quite some time. I've seen a ton of changes that have happened since prior to the T-Mobile Center and the Convention Center and Power and Light. And our city has changed dramatically, all for the better. And I'm so proud of the hotel, but proud of what the city has become.
Were you at the Aladdin when Wall Power and Light was like getting started?
Yes.
Because I remember, and I don't know if this was a thing that was like advertised. I don't know how I ever found this out, but before Uber really took off, the Aladdin would do discounted rooms after midnight, and we would always end up staying out down there if we had a night out. And I keep thinking you look familiar. Maybe that's why.
Possibly. I was about 2011 is when I started at the Aladdin. So if that was around the time, I mean, Power and Light started, Sprint Center opened in 2007. And then everything else kind of trickled in after that with McFadden's and everything on Grand.
Nice. Well, welcome so much to the show. You're polished. So good luck, everybody else. That was good. You got to come. Neil says very cool. He's very excited to see the hotel and hear about the hotel. Caroline, who are you? What do you do? And how do you get here?
I am Caroline Hammond, and I am the founder and CEO of Safe in Harm's Way. And Safe in Harm's Way is an online platform for people who are experiencing toxic relationships or they've survived abuse. And what we do is we create a space where there's community. We create a space where no matter where you're at in the world, and we have outreach. I've done training in South Africa, in the UK, and Canada, and Costa Rica. So wherever you're at in the world, Safe in Harm's Way is there. And we allow people who have experienced those types of situations to learn the vocabulary around the feelings within their relationship so that they can understand what's happening and then seek the proper resources to do it. So we have that for people in those situations. But I also have an organization called Epizon Strategy Solutions. And Epizon Strategy Solutions, Epizon is the Greek word for survivor. And what we do is go into corporations and take a look at their benefit program, take a look what their policies are. And since we know that the CDC and the World Health Organization classifies abuse as an epidemic, we know that people are going into work carrying their bruises from home. So in the virtual world, how do you keep your employees safe? In the real world, when people go back to work, how do you make sure your entire organization is kept safe? And we help do the training and implementation of those kinds of training policy procedures with corporations, again, around the world.
One quick question just to educate our viewers. Sometimes a lot of people tune in heavy towards the beginning to hear all of your stories. So I don't want to go too long because I know that we'll dive into this later, but when domestic abuse calls are down, that's not necessarily a good thing. And
It's
so
not.
can you explain why in a pandemic that is something we all should be aware of and certain signs that we should look for when things we usually wouldn't think of when thinking of domestic abuse, and kind of explain to the audience with calls being down why that's not a good thing?
You know, what that means is, folks, isolation and manipulation is one of the key hallmarks of how abuse starts out. And it seems kind of benign, but when you layer in the COVID consequences, what used to be an escape for people to go to work, go to school if they're younger, that escape is gone. You know, people are working from home. There are organizations that might never choose to go back to work and all keep their employees virtual. That opportunity for people to seek resource, make phone calls, reach out is taken away. And we're finding more and more abusers use this as a tool to keep people isolated. Well, you can't go out. I mean, you can't. No one's even going to be available to help you if you wanted to leave because it's COVID time and no one's available to offer resources. So it means that people not only have the opportunity taken away from them to seek resources, but they also have it used as a tool to keep them from seeking resources. So we've pivoted at Safe in Harm's Way and how we approach survivors based on that. But looking at people, you know, if you have someone, to answer your question about how do you react, if you have someone that you suspect is maybe living with toxicity or abuse, or they come to you, you know, you can do some really great things. I have in place several opportunities. So if I reach out to someone I love live music, so it's all based around music. So if I reach out to someone and I say, oh my God, I am totally jamming on, you know, Whitesnake circa 1986. And the person responds, you know what, I was never a Whitesnake fan. I was more like in the Rick Springfield area. I know that if we're in the same decade, things are okay. If I respond like that and they come back and there's like, I am on early 90s, you know, I'm listening to Nirvana, then I know that things aren't so good, that they've taken it up a level. And you can do this with any sort of thing, but this is what we do at Safe in Harm's Way. If I reach out and I say, how are things? You know, I'm digging this. And she responds with, I am so totally into Foo Fighters and David Grohl. I know it's off the chain and things have to be called because it's escalated decade to decade, allows me to know that that person is unsafe. And we've created a safety plan put in place that then is implemented. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Also, I know Ryan, Todd, and I have each a little bit of a healthcare background, and mental health is playing a bigger role. But Erin drives the show, so she's going to ask the next question. But we're coming back to the healthcare side.
We are coming. And actually, I just wanted to pull up a couple comments. We forgot earlier to tell people to comment. So many people are commenting, but Jessica just says she's very excited because she tuned in and you were there. And then Caitlin says you're doing some phenomenal work. And I want to get to this later during your wins, but you probably recognize Caroline because she's been on some billboards all over town throughout the pandemic. So if she looks familiar, that is why. We're going to circle back around and hear some of that. But let's get to Ryan. From what we heard in our intros that we did, Ryan, hopefully you've had a week now. Hopefully you're as sharp as Sarah was. What do you do? How did you get here?
They set the bar so high. Ryan Carter, I work for MMG. We do commercial real estate, specialize in multifamily. We actually are a brand new company, just started the first of the year.
Well, that's a short answer, Ryan.
I'm keeping it quick.
So where did you grow up? And
Sure.
Then you're coming from doing a little bit of real estate from a commercial insurance standpoint.
Yeah.
And then also talk a little bit about what your company does and what an ideal opportunity looks like for your organization.
Absolutely. So born and raised in Kansas City, went to Shawnee Mission East High School, then went to Pitt State for a year where I played football, then went to KU, graduated from there, and then actually did commercial insurance for 2 years. And then, like I just said, switched over to commercial real estate. But we work on apartment complexes with about 100 units, owners who are looking to, dispose of those apartment complexes for various different reasons, maybe looking to upgrade or liquidate. There's all sorts of reasons why they're going to sell, but we represent the seller. We create a competitive environment to make sure they're getting the best return on their investment.
And then I won't steal the one. We have rules that you can't cuss, and we're not allowed to read the comments on the other side. But talk a little bit about a group that you helped pioneer with a commenter on the other side, and what that group is, and how many people are in that group.
Let me pull it up really quick.
Emerson, there we go.
Ryan Carter, congrats on the new job, big dog. And I guess you should tell people how long you've been at your job now that he called you out.
So this would be day 10. So pretty fresh and green. Yeah, so Emerson, my man. So we helped start the Loop, KC. Man, I think I was member number 10, and we are about, I want to say, right around 150 new members. Really, the whole group was conceived on the concept of we want to, have a bunch of great friends here in Kansas City, but we also want to help do business with our friends and create those genuine relationships that one day turn into business relationships. And I mean, the group's taken off. It's really been an honor to be able to help provide a platform for people to kind of accomplish whatever it is that they want to do. It could be sales, it could be nonprofits, it could be baking, like we talked about earlier. Really, we just want to be able to provide people with opportunities here in Kansas City to get involved with what they're interested in.
Very Gen Z focused. So if you're looking for the most driven Gen Z, like I was not driven like that at that age. I am just so impressed. I've actually this week I've mentored a couple different people. I just had people ask me to meet with them, and both in Gen Z, and I introduced to Emerson, and you guys are so welcoming. He got right on calls with them, and I love what you guys are doing.
Awesome. Yeah, it's been great. It's been a lot of fun.
And I love that you circled around to the baking. You could take one day. Yeah. Yeah. Well, welcome, and thank you so much for coming on the show. Next, we're going to move over to you, Todd. Who are you? What do you do? And how do you get here?
Awesome. What's up, everybody? Good to be here. First of all, it's an honor to be with you guys. I mean, going last year, I love hearing about you guys. You're all doing wonderful things, and I hope I can finish the intros as strong as you guys started it. So well done. My name is Todd Heitshusen. I'm the commercial lines practice leader here at Hub International in Kansas City. We are a top insurance agent that assists many of our companies here in Kansas City, but also in the country, quite frankly. Some of our towers and pillars that we focus on for property and casualty employee benefits are healthcare, manufacturing, real estate, not-for-profit business, construction, railroad, and several others. So we are off to a great start as Hub. We actually became Hub International about 1.5 years ago. It's hard to believe it's been 1.5 years, but we're honored to be part of Hub now and creating that brand and that culture here in Kansas City for Hub moving forward. So that's Hub International. On a personal note, I got into insurance 18 years ago, and big surprise, it wasn't on purpose. It was by accident. No, I'll never forget that day. I got a job interview and I got a job offer, and I pulled my car off to the side and I said yes, right? I was so pumped up, and I owe a lot to that beginning. I didn't know I'd love insurance after 18 years, but Lockton gave me a great opportunity at the beginning of my career. That's where I began my career back in 2003 on the Plaza. And since then, I do consider myself an insurance gym rat. I've had the opportunity of wearing several hats in the industry, from the account administrator, account manager, to the account executive and unit leader, and most recently, the commercial lines practice leader. So very honored to work with the people we have here at Hub, just over 100 people here in Kansas City, and Scott being one of them.
So it's always cool when I'm in the office with Todd, because a lot of people, our associates, work with him, but he makes a decision on a lot of things that they do. And then if he tells a joke and they start laughing, I'm like, is it really funny? Or are you laughing because he's a big deal? But Todd, also, you have an amazing group of kiddos. You're a phenomenal dad, coach, and husband. So how do you differentiate coaching at home and coaching at the office, or do you do the same?
It's my love language, Scott. You're hitting my love language. I'm a big sports person. My background, I played college basketball, and I just learned so much from that experience. I owe a lot of that to my parents, quite frankly, pushing me along the way. But I've transitioned all those lessons in basketball, right? The being coachable, being persistent, working hard, understanding what losing is like, being a good winner, right? Those ups and downs of sports, I've really carried on to life, including being a parent, quite frankly, right? So I do have 4 kids. I have an 11-year-old, I have a 9-year-old, I have a 7-year-old, and I have a 3-year-old, and they bring love jobs and just like life. So I'm very passionate about being a father that shows up, that is involved while getting the job done at work as well.
So Aaron, when we're having our talks about, I think one thing that people that watch the show may or may not know is Aaron has one of the best work ethics in all of Kansas City. I mean, whether it's 11 p.m. or whether it's 5 a.m., she's always working. And I know that I can always tell her, like, hey, you're about to go on a run. A lot of good things are about to happen. Well, Todd and I, being in the same office, I get to see him have a lot of pain and a lot of wins. And you always know pain and the hard work, wins follow. And so it's always nice to have relationships with people that you're like, man, I don't know why things are going so well. And then you're like, oh, well, the last 6 months I've just worked like crazy. Right. And so it's funny that Todd and Aaron, I get to have some of the same conversations with both of you. And it's really cool to finally bring you together.
Well, I was so excited to see that you were on here, and I was actually at y'all's office for the first time last week. It's a really cool office. Why haven't you invited me before, Scott? It was fun.
It was. We didn't really do a ton of events because you have such a great space in the River Market, and we do a lot of events downtown, or we would do it off 435. And so where Todd and I are, we're at 9200 like State Line, Ward Parkway, and it's a great place to host events. And so anyone out there that needs to do events post once ever, I guess we get through the okay through the city of Kansas City. It's a great place to do events.
We're almost there. Well, welcome, all four of you. Welcome. I want to jump over here to the comments real quick. Let us know if you're here, if you're watching on Facebook or LinkedIn. But we've got Jessica, we've got Letitia, we've got Toby, we've got so many people over here. Matt Moylan and Kiana says, who got Hotel KC? So all sorts of people over here. Caitlin, I think we hit that one earlier. So let us know if you're watching. One of the things we love doing is talking, like I keep saying, we're almost through the pandemic, but a lot of people have had a really rough time, and we totally understand that. But I think that the optimism of others has kept a lot of us going. We know we get a lot of feedback on this show that people love to hear about the wins that people are experiencing, because if you're winning, it gives people hopes that they can win as well. So can you talk about, and Sarah, I'm very excited because opening a hotel right before a pandemic is interesting. Can you talk about some wins that you have experienced this past year?
So opening a hotel in the middle of a pandemic has been very difficult because it seems like what we're all prepared to do, what we normally do, doesn't exist anymore. So the great thing about having this opportunity is being able to pivot and really focus on what we do have and what we can do. And what we can do is book a ton of weddings, because nobody is getting in the way of a bride and her wedding. So it's been fun to work and really have the time to spend with different brides and making their dreams come true. But talking to other people, it's kind of like love will always win, because the weddings are still going to happen. And, we're able to have them socially distanced. We have the mask. I mean, we've just pivoted really from everything to make it work. So it's just neat to see the team come together and customers happy and brides happy and things just really moving forward.
And how have the brides, I mean, were they stressed, or like, did your empathy grow? Like, how was that experience? Because, we always hear that brides can be difficult to work with sometimes, but I have a girlfriend who's she was on here December, who is a wedding planner. And she said that actually everybody was a lot more chill than she would have thought. They were a lot more looking out for family. So kind of how was that dynamic?
So what the big thing is the attendance level. Like normally you hear people having these 300 and 500 person weddings. Those aren't happening. The groups have gone really small. And I think it's actually made people happy in a way, because they're having more intimate weddings where they really have their close family and friends and not every person they've ever met. And so I think that's what's made brides a little happy. The only thing that people don't like is having to wear the masks, but we're going to get through it as a team.
Well, I guess if you got to surround yourself with something, might as well surround yourself with love, right?
Yeah, not only that, but I hope Ryan's taking notes. He's still pre-marriage here, and so he has a lot of friends, a lot of buddies. So that is something to say that people have been chill about that with smaller weddings. One random side comment: do you ever do consulting where you help people brand their real estate? Because I think you have a great talent for being able to describe various settings. I know it may not seem like it because you do it all day it's probably like osmosis. You're so used to it. But have you ever had friends or other companies say, hey, I want you to frame this up for our organization?
I've done a couple of things here and there. Yes. But me personally, I have a dance background. And so I was a 1996 national champion. I don't want to make anybody scared or anything like that.
No big deal.
I think having kind of like what he was talking about with basketball, like having that background where you're always performing, you're always, practice how you perform and having that to showcasing how important it is to get the presentation right. And excitement and confidence are the greatest skills in any environment, in my opinion.
I saw Todd peeking down to his left, so I think he had notes.
I love when people take notes when they're on the show.
I'm a big note taker. My daughter loves dance, so I'm like, I need to reach out to you on the side about that.
Caroline, what is a win? And will you tell us why you're on all the billboards?
I will. So very, very fortunate. I've got, 30 years of sales and training experience. And so I am also my father's daughter. So I make connections. And if you're in my cell phone, very rarely do you get out of my cell phone. Now I might put do not answer in front of your name, but people don't get out of my cell phone. So I reached out to someone and in the beauty of putting your best face forward all the time, living with confidence, with patience, and speaking the truth, people watch that you don't even know are watching. And that's what happened. I had a gentleman who owns many outdoor advertising billboards, digital billboards, regular billboards in St. Louis. That's where I grew up. I've lived there. I've only been in Kansas City since about 2010. And he reached out to me and said, I'd like to give, I've been watching what you've been doing at Safe and Harm's Way. I've been doing this 5 years. I would never have known he was. He said, I love what you do. I'm thinking in COVID, we could do something so that you can use our services for Safe and Harm's Way. And that plastered billboards across St. Louis. Now we did because people could see the billboards and it took away the isolation factor that people have experienced because an abuser can't use isolation when you're driving down the road or you're sitting in a doctor's office. So they went everywhere. And then the salesperson in me said to Vince, who can you introduce me to in Kansas City? And he introduced me to the gentleman in Kansas City. And then that put my billboards all across Kansas City for people to find the resources from Safe and Harm's Way. And each time we ran the billboards, to your point, Scott, when things are reports are down, that's not good. But what we found is our services and the utilization of our services went up. The first time that it went up over 186.5%. And the utilization of the services at Safe and Harm's Way. So we were actually able to reach people that normally would not have been able to be reached. And that led to our biggest win, which was the ability to go in front of the Out of Home Advertising Association of America and pitch them on Safe and Harm's Way. And they said yes. They also said yes historically to Elton John and Oprah. So, I mean, if you want to say I'm kind of working with Elton John and Oprah, I mean, I guess you could, but that is billboards across the United States. So Safe and Harm's Way is on the Las Vegas Strip. We know it's gotten into Times Square. We are in doctor's office. We are in clinics. We are in any place that there's outdoor advertising. And the services that we bring are now reaching more and more people. We had over a 400 increase in the interactions and usage of our website for resources. So that's the win for us. Like if I could bring in marching band and fireworks and buy everybody drinks and we all go to Hotel KC and have a big old party, that would be like the biggest win that Safe and Harm's Way has had for COVID.
Well, that is amazing. Isn't it? You never know who's watching. We've learned that
exactly.
Big time. You never know who's watching. All right, Ryan, besides getting a new job, what's been your biggest win?
Well, I would have to say, given my 10-day tenure here, I'm going to have to speak on previous.
A great one-liner.
There we go. Previous endeavors. But so I guess through my previous training program, I was supposed to fly out to Chicago and give more of a mock sales tournament style competition presentation. And obviously that was canceled. So we had to completely adjust and do everything virtually. And so, giving presentations can be daunting in their own. And then you add being virtual and then add a roommate and a roommate's dog on top of that can be quite distracting. But, I was able to kind of hone it in and, present virtually, taking seminars, learning how to talk with your hands, be more engaging over a virtual setting. But I actually ended up winning the virtual mock competition. And that was probably around 6 months ago. So right in the thick of things. But really, I guess the win in that would just be, being able to adjust your surroundings and, not letting all of our virtual lives kind of be a hurdle that you can't overcome.
Right.
Aaron, do you do coaching on, because to Ryan's point, he had to practice giving a virtual speech. And so it's hard to be animated when you're not used to being animated, but you almost have to be over the top a little bit. And Aaron, consults and works with people on that. Ryan, how did you learn that or figure that out? Or did someone give you that piece of advice? Because part of being virtual is you have to be like over the top animated or else it just, And so how did you go about doing that? And how did that come up?
Sure. So we had, there was two things. I mean, honestly, I just went on YouTube and just kind of watched YouTubers because it's the same thing. I mean, they're talking virtually through a camera. And we also had a little bit of virtual training as well. And then it got more intensive later on, but really just, there wasn't a whole lot of quote unquote professional training. It was more so just kind of, picking up social cues from what I was seeing online and just going from there.
I mean, you have a little bit going for you. You're Gen Z. You've been talking virtually forever. Right. FaceTime more. Right. You've got TikTok, you've got YouTube. I love your answer. I went on YouTube. I'll give you a fun fact. I'll just give this away for free to everybody. Did you know that the number one TED Talk, watch TED Talk, also is the time that they use their hands the most. It's a Simon Sinek one. And because he uses his hands, it keeps you engaged. So when you see me do videos or do talks, I'm always like this. Like, this is weirdly in person. I would not hold my hands here, because it's a weird place to hold my hands. I'd hold them down here, but this keeps people more engaged. So that's just a little tip too, is make sure you use your hands, especially in the virtual world. So there's my coaching. I'll send you the bill.
Thank you.
All right.
Speaking of coaches.
Yeah, that good. I was going to pivot. Look, we're doing
So
good.
Let me tell you about this with my hands. Hey, I got the shivers, Ryan. When you talked about YouTubers, I thought about my son like asking me tonight, Dad, can I watch this Minecraft video? And I'm like, oh gosh, no more, please. Let's cut it off. They're so animated. I will give you that. They're super animated.
Todd, one thing before Aaron asks you about your recent win is when in the office, we all have to be prepared for this. I meet 200 people a week or interact with 200 people, mostly in person. When you are a millennial to a baby boomer, we all had certain TV channels. Like if you don't know Shawshank Redemption, you weren't on TBS watching it.
Yeah. So
now with Gen Z, the cultural references, and Ryan's a little bit older, but the cultural references are incredibly unique. They're gone. And so because you have a generation in a great way that's consuming exactly what they want, learning a lot quicker, learning a lot faster, but in the office dynamic, it's as a gentleman like yourself that has, 60, 70 people reporting into you, you can't you can't use in Bull Durham or in Mighty Beck or
that's right.
It's the references are not there. So Aaron, I apologize for getting away. I know you're driving the show here.
No, you're totally fine. I mean, there's all new words too, right? My kids will be like, that's cap, which means lying, or they like your drip, which means your clothes. Like, I don't ever know what anybody's saying around here.
I haven't heard that one yet. What was that again? I got to write that one down.
Cap, CAP means you're lying, you're capping, and drip, they like your outfit. So far,
you know them. You got it down.
It's not cool when your mom owns a social media company. It's not.
I'm going to get ahead of it, and I'm going to use those tonight and send a message to my kids. Be like,
Let me know how it goes.
I know this.
I think it's a smart idea.
Great. All right, Todd, tell us what you've done that has been a big win during COVID.
Love the question, guys. You know, I'm going to throw it to our people. I mean, Scott's kind of alluded to it with the number of people we have in our company, and we've all had the COVID story of adjusting. And I agree 100%. If you're not adjusting and flexible and evolving, you're going to be struggling tremendously over this time period. It's not easy, but we all have been kind of forced to do it. But I'm going to give kudos to our team. We knew 2020 was going to be tough, and we knew it was going to be tough before COVID was on the radar. The reason it was going to be tough is we were changing technology, okay? And it sounds lame and boring, but it's kind of like going from the iPhone to the Droid or getting a Mac, getting rid of the PC. I mean, it's a big change.
I think it's a little bit more than that. So, Todd, what you're explaining is the system that our associates use is completely changing. So the way you do your job every day was changing. I totally forgot about that.
Pre-COVID, we had it all teed up. It was ready to go. Hub is so good at their training. They're so good with this stuff, but nobody could see what was about to happen. And then mid-March came, but guess what? We're not stopping. We got to switch systems. We got to keep going. So we leaned in, we doubled down, and people rose to the occasion. It wasn't easy. It was hard because while we're taking a dip in efficiency because we're changing, the business keeps coming, right? The demand does not change. In fact, it's probably increasing. So our people fought, they battled, they adapted, they leaned in, they pursued knowledge, right? They embraced it. And in addition to that, the insurance market is really hard. Like the pricing and the cost for insurance are not a layup. I mean, 3-4 years ago, you could just almost mail in a renewal. Now you have to almost fight and claw and scratch to get a reasonable renewal at times. So the market's hardened. We're changing systems. And then on top of that, this is a good thing. We had great growth. We had great sales. I mean, our Q3 and Q4 was fantastic. So new business growth, it puts pressure on the system, but bring it. We like that pressure. Keep it coming. We like it. But our people got through it, and they're still getting through it. So May 18th will mark a year of us being in our new system, and I'm proud to say we're getting there. So I'm really proud of the success. It's not maybe an accomplishment we've done, but it's how our people are going about doing it. It's how they're being and how they're acting with each other while they're accomplishing the task.
Nice. What a great answer. I have one more question for you. We need to know if Todd can still shoot 75% from the 3-point line.
I love it, Brandon. What's up, man? No.
So Brandon and I saw each other in the parking lot. He was meeting one of our coworkers in a men's locker room, and they have a coffee spot there. It's a weird place. And but Brandon, I've sent you the link to be on the show, so it's on you to take Todd's spot for next week.
Come on, Brandon, get on here.
Can you shoot it?
Not 75%. I never did that. But I'll keep trying. I'll put some shots up tonight in the driveway.
Wait, you and Brandon, you didn't play this at both. Where'd you play college ball?
I hopped around a little bit. A former colleague, teammate here, Emporia State, my freshman year, ESU. What's going on, Hornet? And then I transferred actually to South Dakota. It was a top 10 Division II program at the time. I think they're D1 now. It was a great program. And then I finished at Baker, and I love my time at Baker very much so. And that's where I met Brandon.
Wow. Are you guys responsible for each other being at the company?
Many years ago, actually, I did connect with Brandon, and it was back when it was Power Group, and Brandon was at Power Group at the time in the employee benefits side. So he was definitely part of me kind of migrating over back in 2008. Maybe
we owe it to Brandon that we know each other.
We do. He's a matchmaker.
Fun fact, ladies, something that I've learned during COVID is that they call them men's locker rooms, but often they're coffee shops or bars that we just can't go to. So I'm going to leave that.
It's not true. Aaron, you've been in the
I went to one time. That's why I learned it.
That's where Brandon was today.
I still went in. So if you're persistent, you can. But just a fun fact, okay? Just a fun fact I learned during COVID. All right. Guess who's going to join us now? I'm so excited.
Is she coming? I thought she's busy today.
No, she made time for us again.
Let's do it. Let's see Wendy.
go into acting. We really should. All right. So Miss Wendy Reynolds, the CEO of Bank of Blue Valley, our sponsor, is here to ask a question. As soon as she's done, we will just pivot to you, Sarah, and you can answer. I hate the word pivot, but you guys all said it, so I used it. All right, here we go.
What do you think are the biggest challenges your industry will face in the next 5 years?
That's a very easy answer, and it is people being comfortable to gather in large groups. Our hotel sits right next to the music hall, the convention center, Kauffman Center, Power and Light. So our main business is the large citywide events that we have. And so being in the hotel industry this long, every year is not the same. So every January, what the revenue you did the previous January could be upwards and downwards drastically based off of the citywide conventions. So that will be the challenge, is people really gathering in large groups. They're actually saying the hotel industry won't hit 2019 levels until 2023 or 2024. So it's going to take a hot minute, but we're remaining hopeful that it's sooner than later.
Maybe mom getaways. Maybe you go with mom getaways once people are ready to go out.
We have lots of booze, so please come and visit us anytime. We have plenty of booze, so we'll make everyone's dreams come true.
I love it. Caroline, how about you?
You know, when I look at what we deal with at Safe and Harm's Way, I think the biggest thing is going to be to make bigger and more connections with other nonprofits. That's why I love Jessica and Giving Hope and Help. You know, we've done several partnerships this past year, including a doll drive for the local shelters. The more I'm into this, the more I realize that people operate in silos. And it's almost, gosh, I don't want to kind of tip my hand at what we're doing here, when the reality is, if we have so many folks in trouble, so many folks who need assistance, why are we not all joining hands to change the world? And that's been one of our mantras from the beginning. So I think it's going to be the challenge to overcome those barriers and to understand what they are, of why those silos are in place, and then work really hard to dismantle them so that we can bring bigger and better resources and partnerships together and then move forward to help exactly where it's needed.
I like that. I like that. Yeah, a lot of people move in silos in the nonprofit world. It's so crazy. Mm-hmm. Ryan, you're a weekend. Now you need to tell us about the next 5 years.
The next 5 years. Well, there's just a lot of uncertainty with everything. I can speak to sales in general. You know, it's just connecting, finding different mediums to communicate, you know, with the economy and the federal government and different regulations. You know, there's just a lot of volatility. So just communicating those, being able to work through that. I mean, it's just, you know, it's always up in the air.
Yeah, sales has been interesting. I was in sales for a long time, and sales, you definitely had to jump online really quick to continue those relationships. So it sounds like you're doing good.
Ryan, can you talk a little bit more about that? Because a lot of things that maybe other viewers of the show are dealing with is, you know, especially when you're starting out a network and you're in a pandemic. I mean, obviously you're an incredibly hard worker and you found a way around it, but what did that feel like? Because you probably felt isolated or on an island, and you're building it, and everyone else is telling you like, "Oh, you just call so and so," and you're like, "Well, I haven't built that relationship yet."
Right.
So, kind of talk a little bit about, you know, a little bit of the struggle, because a lot of people all were in the same boat. I just could never imagine going through what you had to go through of being on an island, and I know Todd definitely understands that as well. Because when you're building your network, you got to be able to get together with people.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point. You know, it did feel a little bit like an island, especially being on the younger end of the spectrum when you're just trying to, you know, to build all those connections. So I guess what I can say is it's not something that's tangible. You know, your networking is not like a product you have in front of you, but it does pay off. I mean, just working hard, being persistent, and just being, I think, genuine is also just another huge aspect of that. You know, everybody seemed to, you know, it was 50-50 whether people wanted to engage virtually, others more opt to do it. But I would say just, you know, staying to the course, you know, keeping to your guns, you know, just be genuine, engaging. But yeah, I mean, I got a new career because of networking, and it all started virtually. So there's no reason to create any, you know, I hate to say any excuses, but really, you know, it's just, you go out there and do it and keep doing it. And eventually, you're just hitting that stone wall. Eventually it's going to come crumble.
Well, tell us a little bit more. How'd you do it virtually?
Yeah, well, so it just through a mentor. I was actually thinking about starting my own residential wholesaling company, and I was discussing that with him, and he was like, well, you should go talk to one of my buddies. He's thinking about starting up his own commercial real estate brokerage. And so we chatted virtually for the first time, and I was like, it was something I really wanted. So I made sure to be, a little captivating and engage in the conversation, and then did it again. And then the third time was in person, and we kind of just got to chatting. So really it all started virtually, which I don't think the year before that I would have anticipated a career path starting virtually, but it's some crazy times.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I will tell you that I'm not against having new people start virtually. We have a new person right now, and we've been doing Zoom, and we've been recording every single time we train and putting them in it. And she's actually catching on way faster than, there's a lot of advantages to it, right? Because she can go back and do it on her own, kind of, because when you're in person, it's a new job, you're nervous, there's people watching. It's been really wonderful. So I think we may continue to do some of our training virtually forever.
Absolutely. A virtual meeting could replace an in-person meeting in many different cases. I mean, it's got to be much more efficient.
Right. Well, thank you for some of those tips. And if you are trying to grow your network, I think that you could definitely reach out to Ryan, and he could give you some of his tips. He sounds like he's quickly becoming the
Especially if you're selling a multifamily complex.
That's right.
Todd, how about you in the next 5 years?
Yeah, awesome question. Again, I love it. I think the virtual thing for the short term will be very interesting for us to navigate. We have a lot of people that want to be in the office. I'm at the office today with several people. We have a lot of people that don't want to be in the office. So I think it's going to be very intriguing to see how we all balance. I think a big word that my mom used with me growing up and still today is the word balance. It'll be interesting to see how we balance that moving forward. A few serious issues, though, in addition to that I see the insurance market in general facing is the market. There's no slowing down of the increases. I read an article yesterday that had arrows pointing upward for several lines of insurance coverage. So that's hard to deliver that news day in and day out. So we're going to see a hardening of the market, and that is not going to fade away, at least in the near term. So we're going to be dealing with that for several months. Efficiency. We're trying to adapt and use technology as much as possible. But quite frankly, efficiencies with technology sometimes makes more work. I feel like our emails are on fire right now. This work from home situation has blurred a lot of borders even more.
A lot of head nodding there.
Oh,
yes,
yeah, right. We're all like the email people. So we're trying to, as a group here, we're trying to be aware. We're actually looking into that and saying, should we pull back? Should we not email? Like even myself, like I find myself sending an email on a Saturday because it's on my to-do. But I kind of forget to think about the person receiving that. It might disrupt their day. It might interrupt their dinner plans with their family because they looked at their phone. So just being aware, we want to be efficient. We want to be there for our clients and for each other. But just balancing the efficiencies of technology, I think, will be a challenge, good and bad at times, but I think it'll be a challenge. And then lastly, just our intellectual capital. Our industry has a lot of great veterans, and we are trying to pull as much information from them as possible. But we need to step it up and bring in the next wave of industry experts. And at Hub, I think we're doing a good job of doing that. But again, whenever you transition, from one generation to the next, et cetera, we got to make sure our farm system, right, our pipeline is ready to step up to the plate when it's their time. And we're seeing that week in and week out in this day and age. So those are a few of the challenges.
Erin's face when you were every point, she was like surprised, like, man, that's a really good answer. That's a really good answer. So Todd, what's unique that we don't have a lot on the show is sometimes you have people working on the business and working in the business, and you get to do a little bit of both. So you are a CEO in many ways because you're handling a whole division, but that's not your title. And sometimes CEOs are more of a brand of a company. You're actually getting to do a little bit of both. And so explain to everyone how many teams that report up to you and how many people are kind of on each team, because my next question after that is you get to see a little bit of a microcosm of, do people want to go to work or do they not want to go to work? And is that going to be based upon teams, or do you think it's like people's age? So question of how many people, how many teams, what do you see them wanting to be in person or not in person?
You bet. On the property and casualty side, we have 5 units. And again, I see, and each unit kind of has about 6 to 8 people, kind of something like that. And each unit has a unit leader as well. Again, I envision the balance word coming to play. I don't believe hub is going to kind of give one blanket answer. We're going to encourage balance moving forward. Everybody has their own unique kind of situations. Everybody has their own health things going on behind the scenes. So we're a flexible culture. At the same time, like again, with the sports background, I've been practicing at home, right? Like working at home in my backyard or in my home office. Like practicing at home is good, but I know for a fact when I got around my teammates for real practice, like at the gym, I upped it. Like the coach was there, my teammates were there, and I upped it. So I know we're doing good at home, but I'm hoping we strike that balance between getting it done at home, but also coming to the gym together, i.e. the office, and getting it done together and lifting up our games. Is that, I don't know if I answered that perfectly, but.
No, I didn't even think about how we kind of up our games when you're in the office.
Again, I know people are busting at home. I'm not trying to downplay that, but.
No, not at all.
I wonder if that has something to do with like what personality type it takes to work in insurance, because I run a creative business. I had the exact opposite, where it actually, I didn't realize how much it was taking from creativity of being around a lot of people and not really having your own element that you want to set up, that we've actually upped our games a lot working from home. So I wonder if that has something to do with personality. That'd be an interesting study.
Industry and personality, I think you hit it on the head. You're right. It's not a blanket answer by any means. In insurance, I think we need to collaborate quite a bit, and we feed off each other in that collaboration. But we're collaborating now on the screen too, so we know it can be done.
Right. And I also wonder what if that study that you read the other day, what will happen with insurance as we see the long-term effects of COVID? Is that a question you all are getting a lot?
Yeah, that was so hot and heavy the first few months out of the gate. I mean, I was revisiting some early emails. We're not hearing as much. I mean, I think there is a lot of optimism, quite frankly. I really do. We're feeling like clients are wanting to see us. Prospects are wanting to see us. Payroll, sales, number of automobiles. There's a little fluctuation. The COVID reaction was like, oh, pull back, but people are rebounding. Again, not in every industry. I know it's kind of an industry-related question.
What about like the people that had COVID and what that does to their long-term health? Is that a question that they covered at all when it comes to covering you in insurance?
Yeah. I know on the benefit side.
Yeah. From a healthcare perspective, I mean, that's just like any claim in general. Yeah. So it's not like you're not going to be covered because, you have conditions that are extending. We hear a lot about people that have had COVID that just have never been really able to kick it. But that's covered just like any medical coverage in terms of hitting your deductible and seeing the doctor. So it's kind of like a chronic disease. And I don't know, there's already a law for pre-existing conditions. And actually, the funny thing is, and you guys will get a kick out of this, is I tell this story all the time. I told today, is that people will look at me and they know I know nothing about what I do for a living. And so they'll turn to my coworker and ask the question. And so as I was explaining this, I was like, Ryan actually can explain this a lot better than I can. But in general, it's not much to it other than pre-existing condition.
Well, we gave you guys probably one of the tougher questions. Wendy gave you guys one of the tougher questions 5 years out. So, okay, well, we just have a few minutes left. I did want to jump on here and say, Marcella was watching us from Atlanta. So thank you. You were very engaged over here. Very exciting. So this is probably my favorite part of the show because we just started doing it a couple months ago. So early on, people didn't get to do this fun thing. But as Scott and I have gotten to know each other really well the past year, I realized one of his absolute favorite things in the whole wide world is icebreakers. Right. And so this is where we let him at the end of the show ask his icebreaker question that he's going to come up with the top of his head right now. So you've got about 60 seconds to answer it, each of you, and then we'll be at time. So go ahead, Scott.
Sarah, so as you think of your first high school dance at Olathe North, what do you remember the most about it? And ideally, we would love a location of where you went to dinner, maybe a song that you remember, or if you want to drop the name of a Courtney Pennywell, Blue Valley Northwest 2001, who your date was. Feel free. I doubt they're watching, but what do you remember of your first high school dance? What were the highlights?
My first high school dance. I remember prom. I don't remember much of anything else. I remember prom because we went all out. We had a special pictures taken somewhere. I can't even remember. We had 2 limos. So it was a huge group of friends. We drank, and then we went and we had dinner at the Savoy. And then we went to the Intercontinental. So it was really special, fun.
Was there any fashion that you regret?
No, I loved my dress. I love it today.
Man, you just give great answers.
She went to Olathe North. I went to Gardner, and we used to go to Olathe North to find the cute boys.
Well, yeah. There you go. I won't even dig into that one. All right, Caroline, what was there a fashion faux pas, or what do you remember from a dance that you went to in high school?
I may get a little teary-eyed because it was Jimmy Pop 1986, and I thought if anyone has kept in touch with Jimmy Pop or has connections in St. Louis, like if you could hook a girl up, that'd be amazing. He was dreamy. He danced great. We had dinner before at my friend's house. We had this really fun little sweet appropriate kiss, and I was like, oh, that was fun. And I had really big hair. My hair's always been curly, really big hair, and like this purple sparkle silver dress that like left glitter everywhere it went. And It was the most divine night ever.
I would date a guy named Jimmy Pop. What a great name.
Great name.
He's not on Facebook. I looked. He ain't on there. So if anybody knows somebody,
we got to find Jimmy.
Find Jimmy, please.
Ryan, last year, just kidding.
Yeah.
So Ryan, what any fashion faux pas that you regret or any memory you have of your favorite school dance?
Ooh, favorite, it's changing. So I'll go with my first that I remember. I think it was freshman year homecoming. Fashion was great, except I had some gnarly braces that were just like, oh man, I see pictures of them now. I'm like, ooh. But one big deal I do remember was my buddy Gunnar was the only one who was old enough to drive, and he got to drive his dad's. Can't remember what car it was, but it was a big old car, and that was like, oh, this is gonna be a good night. Gunnar's driving, so that was fun. But man, I will never forget those braces. They were brutal.
We need Jimmy Pop and Gunnar to hang out.
Another great name.
those are cool guys right there.
Todd, we got 2 minutes going. So what was a favorite memory you have or a first memory in any fashion faux pas?
I'm going to go old school. Guys, I might have been early middle school. I loved basketball. And dances were big back then, like slow dances, like Unchained Melodies kind of stuff. It was a big deal. And we went to this dance, and I liked a girl, of course, right? And I was trying to show off. A song came on. It's called Jump Around. And I was getting so high in the air. I mean, I was elevating. And I'll never forget, I came down and I landed on somebody's foot. And I broke my foot dancing to Jump Around.
Oh, no.
Out of all my basketball career, I never got hurt my whole basketball career, but leave it to me to get hurt jumping to dance around. So
did you ever dance to the Space Jam soundtrack?
Oh man. Yeah, I still do.
I believe I can fly.
That's on my son's playlist. Oh yeah. Space Jam.
Yeah. Aaron, what was one thing, a dance that you remember other than going to Olathe North to find the boys?
Well, my freshman year, I went to my first dance with John Banka because our friends hooked it up and we didn't really like each other. And then he started dating my across the street, cool senior neighbor. And they're still friends of mine, and they had their second grandbaby yesterday.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, I was like, oh, and so I'm not a grandma. At least there's that. Not yet. But yes, very long time ago. But Olathe North, that's where I started going after that dance because I couldn't compete. So, all right. And you told us yours earlier, right? Or did you have any more stories?
10-second story. I had a bus to get on the homecoming for senior year, and they wouldn't let us on unless someone was 21. So I showed him my fake ID. And then I came back with the crown on my head, and he's like, "You liar, you're not 21." And I was like, "No, I'm not." Drive to the party.
Your humble brag that you won Homecoming King. So congratulations, Scott.
Yeah, that's pretty pathetic.
Thank you so much for joining us. We will be here same time, same place next week. Thank you to Bank Blue Valley. Please connect with all of our guests on LinkedIn. Please support them. And we really appreciate it. Have a wonderful week. Go enjoy the sunshine.
Thank you.
Thanks.